It's only when the power goes out.
Yeah, I was going to say the only time my computer gets restarted is when the power goes out. And in Northern California, that's more often than you think sometimes.
All right, let's make it official here with an intro.
Dude, I have to steal that back for the intro.
As soon as we start, now your mic doesn't work anymore.
How about now?
There we go. Perfect.
Oh, sorry.
I got some good news. We're 2 weeks in a row. It's like a record now, all of a sudden. I don't know if you saw my handy, I'm trying to fix my mic here. That's stands messed up. My handy terrible thumbnail because Pete has like 92 layers and I'm not really good at Photoshop. Crossed out Jeff. He's crossed out. He's X'd. Now it's with Charlie.
Stupid Jeff. I got you.
Yeah. I can't make fun of his kid because his kid is cool, but I'll make fun of Jeff. He's doing homeschooling, and apparently he teaches at 8:30 at night.
Night classes.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
After school studies.
Maybe his kid's a pro video gamer, and he stays up super late playing video games. So he wakes up at 6 p.m., does school for a couple hours, and all night video games. That's how I'd do it if I was like super parent.
It would be smart. We got a good topic today. Actually, we made fun of techno for at least almost the whole show, and in the next show. We're not going to talk about that yet. What we're going to talk about is the fifth element and the big evil blob in the center of the universe. And I say this nicely. I'm not really picking on Horizon, but they just acquired AKA. Which, how many tire companies do you need? All of them?
It's how you eliminate the competition, isn't it? You just buy them all up and shut them down. It's like Brondo. It's what plants crave. We got AKA. It's tires. It's what we crave.
How strong was AKA before being acquired? Were they about to AK go away?
I mean, some might say that. Yeah, but who knows? I mean,
I feel like with the exception of a few of the, what do they call them, acquisitions by the distributors, whether it be Horizon or otherwise, a lot of them were brands that were circling the drain a little bit there. So,
well, those are understandable, right? So you could buy the Culture cheap. I mean, Proline is one that I didn't expect because they seem to be somewhat prosperous, but like the smaller ones that are, I don't know anybody's financials, but I know AKA had problems years ago. And so, I mean, I don't know. Hey, Horizon, do you want to acquire the magazine? You can buy me.
I would guess that COVID affected AKA more than Proline because with Proline, if you're staying home, like I'm going to stay inside and just do my hobbies and stuff and stay away from people, and that's going to be my COVID plan, chances are you're still buying Proline tires for your play around cars and your trail trucks and everything. Whereas if you're buying AKA tires, you're probably racing, and with COVID, you weren't going racing. So I imagine they probably felt a bigger hit than Proline did in tire sales. And Proline has the whole body, area to, augment.
Yeah, well, Proline makes stuff, but still makes stuff. I don't think AKA actually makes any of their own products. They don't have.
Their stuff has to get sold. I mean, for them to make money. So
right, you still got to make it. And at least if you were shipping stuff where it was frozen overseas, you couldn't sell anything. So. Or, I mean, I don't know if AKA makes stuff in the U.S., but they didn't have the actual machine, so they couldn't even make it if they wanted to. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of big news. It's probably some of the only news that I've seen AKA in a while, so congratulations. Hopefully it works out. I don't feel like we'll see that brand in a while, but maybe. I don't know what the plans are, I feel like racing is a lot of follow me anyway. Like, how can this show's gonna be a lot about racing. So if you're not into it, you might as well just turn some RuPaul's Drag Race on. I feel like the tire to have is whatever they want to make at the time. You know what I mean? The pros are going to use it. They're going to be fast no matter what. Like how can every event have a new tread pattern that miraculously shows up at a track and is the tire to have? It's just what they want to push at the time. It's good. I get it. I'm not mad at it, But there's no way that every week we can develop a new tread pattern that will randomly work at the Nationals track, which they only knew that was happening 6 months ago. Like, you know, I don't even know what's
the psychology of it is as soon as you see someone put in the hottest lap or look like they're the fastest or the most in control and they're on tire X, you might also be able to do that on tire Y, but tire X definitely works. So let's go ahead and use tire X and factor that out of the equation. I'm sure that's part of it too.
I think niche market racing, it's kind of always the case. There's one disposable item that everybody throws a lot of energy into, and the tire companies have always, I think, capitalized on racing more than anybody else. There was more tires in the trash bins than there are any other product that you purchase in RC car. So I mean, it's good business sense, I think.
But how many tires in the trash bin at the Nationals were purchased at retail?
Well, they're still selling. They're definitely making money off that stuff. So, that being said, I do see some races in the build up to that where dudes are buying stuff at the hobby shop or the local racetrack is moving through some inventory. Like it does,
the local guys that think they're going to compete. I mean, I was one of those guys. You know, we had a big race, and I bought tires too.
No, same here. Like you're going to go spend your vacation extras on your tires instead of whatever else you were going to do because you're going to the Nationals this weekend and you want to make sure that if they're on new tires, at least I have that level playing field. That was my
I'm just making fun of, and it's just purely marketing, which again, it's fine. But it isn't a magic tread pattern that works this week and next week all of a sudden it doesn't. I liked it better when A scale was just crime fighters, and that's what everybody used. That was the best for A scale nitro, just crime fighter, and you got crazy and cut the edges off on a 45-degree angle when you want less traction. Now it's like, you know, we have a new blob amoeba pattern with directional squids and sperms, and that's the tire that works the best now.
You have a rainbow array of tires to choose from, and then you have multiple compounds in those same tread patterns as well. So it's even more fun. And don't get me started on inserts. Jesus.
Let me ask you this: what do? You're at Horizon. They say you're in charge of the old tire category for RC cars. Do you want Proline to compete with AKA on the racing realm? Do you want to just give racing to AKA? Do you want to just have Proline maintain its current race treads but not add any new models? What would you do with those two brands?
Experiment. You have this, what is essentially a disposable brand, assuming they got it at a very good deal. They took out some competition and they get to try various race marketing, whatever the case may be.
Or they just take the designs in rubber, which is different because obviously there were some tracks that were AKA tracks and they didn't have the rubber or whatever it is. So then now they have whatever it was and they can just make it one. I don't think they need to because they had a tire brand before this too. They had Losi tires. They had what was the other brand that they tried pushing a little bit?
Well, they had a sport line of tires that would compete with Proline's play tires. It was under the Dynamite brand, but they had Banditos. They still do. I believe that line still exists. Raw Speed is out there, which is not a Horizon brand. Panther is still out there, which is not a Horizon brand. But the two brands that matter are really Proline and AKA.
You're just cutting J Concepts a little bit because they were much more relevant. They're much more relevant.
About J Concepts. Please forgive me, J Concepts. Of course, J Concepts.
J-Ro is cringing right now.
Yes. And to be honest with you, J Concepts will be in this discussion because our path is leading to racing more. And the what we clearly made fun of a couple weeks ago on the Tekno EB.
The original Trug boat.
The Trug boat became the tire choice of champions. And I will say there were brands that made it look a lot better. But the first thing I want to start with, because it just confuses me, because I thought we had rules. So while I was at work today, I did look up the Roar Racing rules for Truggy.
There's body rules?
Yes.
There's body rules.
So I got to remember, I got to control it over here. Let me move this so I can see.
Man, I can't see the numbers, man.
I don't care about the numbers. The thing I want to point out first is that when I was thumbing through these rules, they're kind of a joke. I used to make fun of Roar all the time because our magazine was more catered to racing, and I haven't really paid attention to how. Let me put this down. Stupid. That's the word I'm looking for. The rule book is at this point because this, what you're looking at, is a fuel class specifications for 1/10 scale fuel off-road.
That's a thing?
That's what I was thinking.
1/10 scale fuel off-road. So that would be like stadium
Nitro
truck.
buggy.
You might still have a 10th scale 4-wheel drive Kyosho Nitro buggy from 1998.
Wasn't somebody just trying to bring back Nitro truck? The 2-wheel
Well,
drive?
okay, the truck rules are in there, which again I think is dumb because the class hasn't been used.
I mean, that's part of the one you were just on, isn't it? No.
Yeah.
No, that's a different one. That would be the truck rules.
Sorry, that was for buggy. Jesus, Charlie.
Yeah, 10 scale buggy. So maybe a different day we can rip apart Roar. I don't really care about them anymore.
I assume these are just rules they've kept grandfathered in because if suddenly the class explodes, they've got rules in place. I mean, they've had them
but you could take them out. I mean, first of all, I haven't seen a 10 scale Nitro buggy race ever in my life, nor can I think of a buggy other than like an Offna, a Duratrax. Who else made a Nitro 10 scale?
Well,
I think the guy had a 4-wheel drive something that was like the MT. It had a buggy body for it.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe if there was a 10 scale, I mean, then there was a few more 10 scale Nitro buggies,
right?
But not enough.
No.
Truggy is not listed as a class.
A scale fuel off-road truck is, though. That's what truck is.
Okay, and this is where I came in to just look at because of this body morph. I don't know what the hell to call it, right? So they list monster truck and A scale truck separately with engine sizes, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I went to the body because I was like, man, I'm pretty sure there's rules in place for this shit not to happen. And there is. And it's right here. I don't know if you guys can see it.
I like the opening sentence. And then in the, what are those things called? Parentheses. No buggy or car bodies allowed.
Yeah. It's in the fucking rules.
But if you sell it as a truck body, it's no longer a car body.
Bodies must resemble a full-size racing truck. And trucks will be evaluated in 2011, which, I mean, did they just stop doing the rules in 2011? And this is why we all of a sudden had a giant change and shift in Truggy, which is not Truggy anymore. They just made it, as I quoted in Facebook, it's old man buggy. Because the Truggy is just easier to drive for older people. Hello, that's me now.
Yeah.
And now we have the bodies just great. They handle different body handles better, but it's not a truck.
Do you remember the J Concepts class where they ran the truck tires on 2-wheel drive buggy? And that was a class for like a season.
Yes, and then they did on the truck chassis. So it was longer and bigger tires, which I liked because we lost 10 scale tracks and now you couldn't run 10 scale on an A scale track, but on that you could actually run on an A scale track.
But it was a truck with a buggy body, literally.
Yes, but that wasn't a Roar class.
Correct. It wasn't replacing anything.
Yeah, and that was it looked like an overgrown 10 scale buggy. It was a big, 10 scale style body.
Yeah, but it was a shift to try to make buggies a little bit more outdoor friendly to the larger tracks that are running.
You took your RC10T or your Low Z Triple XT and you dressed it up as a big buggy. Or a less small buggy.
Right.
But if you look at these rules, let's say that instead of 2011, it said 2021. Roar is kind of notorious for these soft words like resemble. Well, resemble, there's a wide range of definitions for what resemble means. I mean, if you reduce a side view of a truck to 5 pixels, you'll get the Tekno truck. It resembles a truck in that regard.
Where's your Lego blocks?
I remember being at a meeting at one of the big nationals. I was covering a race and, there's a big hubbub because driver X was disqualified because his motor dimension was out of spec. And they're like, but the rule says that the motor has to be this dimension nominally. And I think the person who wrote the rules thought just nominal was a word that sounded cool and technical. Nominal means about. So if the motor has to be like 0.015 and this guy's motor was 0.018, he's still legal. That's a nominal dimension, not precise. So, you can't have words like that in there. So likewise, bodies must resemble a full-size racing truck. Man, you're going to have a hard time reinforcing that one unless it's patently not a truck at all. Whereas like the Tekno thing, I would say, look, it's got 1 box in front, 1 box for the cab, and about 2 boxes for the bed. it's a truck, you know, and you'd have a hard time saying you're wrong about that, I think.
On there. So as much as
the Techno Truggy looks
more like
I'm not saying
more like a
rules
truck.
good, and I'm saying when you write rules that way, it's not very effective and doesn't do the job you want it to do, which is make sure that the trucks look like trucks.
So this was the Mayfield's, and by the way, Mayfield won everything because he's super fast still.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and this was his
There's
winning
a lot of
truck.
depth in pro racing.
What's that?
Is there still a lot of depth in pro racing? Like in any of 10 guys win each race, or is it there's really 3 guys who are the best of the best, and then there's also rents?
6 guys.
Yeah, and I think it's always been like that. But so this was the Truggy of last week, right? The body. I would say it still resembles not so much a real truck, although you could probably get to a real off-road truck that kind of looks like that.
From that view, it looks like a truck-ish.
Yeah,
like
truckish. Yeah,
race truck.
I'll give it that.
Right. I vote that's a truck.
The Kyosho one, what was that? MP10T? Is that what it was?
But I mean, a side profile picture while it's not in motion is one thing. From watching the race this weekend, they did not look like trucks.
Well, no, because they look like a stupid buggy.
I tuned in. I'm like, the buggy main's up. Nope, it's the Truggy main.
Yeah, they're just bigger buggy. That's why I said it's old man buggy at this point. This was the new one, right? With the ugly front, the beak.
Oh gosh, the one on the right there.
I
didn't. They were kind of so terrible. I didn't even retain any of the information that was happening. I was just like, look at the big buggies.
So Kyosho was the first to kind of make the nose. It was more puggy. It still was super cab forward. I mean, this looks like, I keep looking at it. It starts to look like somebody put a buggy body on backwards. The more I look at it, the weirder it gets to me. And now we have.
Does it have mid-body fins, or is that just the graphic on the side? I like that. Rob says it looks like a Pontiac Aztec.
Yeah. The side pods kick up for more downforce on the middle of the body.
Oh, so aero.
But the thing is, you could have bodies that look a lot more, if not realistic, at least more proportioned in a way that makes your brain says, yes, that makes sense.
Right.
And just have clear wings and spoilers on top of them that would have the same effect. Like the dramatically cab forward buggies, you could have a cab rearward buggy and just put a barn door on the, in front of the front shock tower that's clear, and it would look like something that's more cool and less weird and still have that effect. Or if you say, you know what, we're not going to allow that type of body anymore, no one's using it, therefore no one has an advantage. I mean, you don't have to have awesome front downforce from a cab forward body to race. We did without it for years. Is that a problem? Should buggies look like buggies? Is that going to affect, the growth of RC racing? I'm not sure, but I can tell you this much: if you get spectators in an RC car race, they all want to know why the cars look weird, because they think it's going to be like RC airplanes, where you go to an RC airplane flying field to watch, and there's going to be airplanes that look like airplanes. It's not all zaggy wings,
I think we're going to see a shift in that soon. That RC car racing is going to, people are going to be so used to video games and stuff like that, where nothing's real, that a buggy doesn't look like anything realistic. Most of the RC cars beyond, and even touring cars these days, are getting a little crazy. They don't look like anything as far as like real life. Like an A-scale buggy.
If you play a driving game, you play Gran Turismo. I mean, you play with stuff that looks like real cars.
But what's my example here? All of the newer racing games, the F-Zeros and the one where they play soccer and they hit the ball, those cars all look ridiculous. Like they're not, but it's a car game still.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, those look more like RC cars than I think they actually designed some of their stuff after an RC car. Because if you look at real off-road stuff, there is a similarity to real performance off-road stuff to
not
RC
proportionally stuff. Though. Like I mean,
well, of course it's not going to be proportionate, but I mean, a Grasshopper was a real off-road car at some point. I can't find a picture of Mayfield's the winning buggy Truggy body.
What was it? Bruggy? Was that the one that I heard on the broadcast?
Tugboat.
Trugboat is just a Techno, though. The rest of them just look like big. Look, you got a link in the chat. This guy's trying to hook you up.
Yeah, that's a big link.
Or J Concepts too, because they probably have it because he's their. Oh, good God!
Oh, that didn't work. I tried to. I tried to click it. Yeah. Problem is,
the world famous Matt Olson's in the chat too. I don't know if you saw that or not. It's a pretty big deal.
Come on! Oh my God, I can't believe that people win stuff and there's not like more of a picture thing going on here.
There's not more of a picture thing going on here.
Well, I go to J Concepts website. They just have a picture of him halfway with a trophy. It doesn't fit.
It's Monday and they're just getting back, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, welcome to the fucking internet. Jesus Christ. Hey, if you don't want to do it live anymore, you could bring back magazines and we'll do it for you.
You could have this stuff like pre-writ.
Yeah, like an obituary that's about to happen.
Olson, yeah. Olson, send him a screen capture that stuff and text it to him. You still got his number.
I'm on J Concepts. This is why I'm complaining. I feel somebody wants to watch me struggle.
He says go to J Concepts Facebook. I'm going to see if I can beat you to it.
But why wouldn't you?
There it is. I found it.
Yes. You can share your screen then.
I don't know how. It looks like a buggy that's really long, and it has a very small cutout for a bed in the back. He's holding they're showing the round from the TQ, and Dakota's standing next to him with his buggy.
Hey, I want you to continue to talk about it, what it looks like until I find it.
It looks like Mayfield's truck is a bigger version of Dakota's buggy, and they're both holding them side by side. That's great. J Concepts Facebook. Just click on the J Concepts. Type the J Concepts in the search bar on Facebook, and then click on the thing that shows up. And bam, there you are. The post that I'm looking at is from June 19th at 2:12 p.m.
How is Facebook so bad? I'm searching J Concepts on Facebook. I got J Sizzle Concepts, J Haas Concepts.
I hate the social media websites. They are purposely broken so that you find things you're not looking for and end up in a rabbit hole of nonsense. And next thing you know, you're getting friend requests from around the world from people that don't exist. Bastards. Did you find it yet?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's J Concepts Inc. That's why.
That's .net, yeah. But anyway, I could find it.
We've said J Concepts a lot.
I'm just saying is you got to remember that you have a website, and if people go to your website and the shit's not on there,
his Truggy has side pods like a buggy does. It's a buggy.
I'm about to send you a message with the direct link to it.
I'm loading it onto this so I can just load the picture because in order for me to share my screen, it's got to be on Chrome, and I don't have Facebook on Chrome. I know that sounds weird, but so there you go.
See, it looks like a big buggy, doesn't it?
Yes. So they're cheating with the bed being the square thing around. I mean, you could make the buggy a Truggy too, I guess.
Right. I mean, it almost is. There's little ridges. I'm trying to point at the screen like you can see what I'm pointing at.
I was doing the same thing with this.
There's little ridges right behind the engine that almost make it like a truck bed. You could probably put a little handful of sand back there and it would hold it.
Yeah, they're hauling sand.
Everybody has them. Hobbies says Proline has one too. Yeah, they all did it.
Yeah, they all had that thing.
Monkey do. You don't want to be the only one that doesn't have a cheater thing.
And the Tekno Tugboat is the most truck-looking one only because, as Pete drew, is the squarish, least polished one of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, if we just want Buggy 2 or Buggy 40-year-old Buggy, which I think it should be, that's what we need to do.
I mean, some argued that Truggy should have been master's class long ago. So this is just like fast forwarding that or finally drawing that to a conclusion. I don't know. I want to shout out to Steve.
You know what? Truggy is really about a wheelbase and a track width and a tire size. And we're going to go ahead and say that you can run what looks like a giant buggy body. I wouldn't care. You know?
It has more buggy in the name than truck. So it makes sense that it looks like a buggy.
Yeah. I don't know. It just, to me, it's dumb, especially because if you look at the rule book and, you know, we can all pretend to be dumb about the rule book and say, well, you know, it's
hey, we can't. They disqualified two dudes at this same race for running, what was it, a half a cc over after they did the inspection of the tanks. And I don't know. The post that I read about it was they like inflate the tank or some nonsense while it's warm. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, Ashton got this was like when Ashton won the Nationals, he had this problem that it
Mm.
was CC's over, and they claim that during the race, the tank expands, and then it doesn't contract, and you gain stuff. It's stupid.
Is that a dog?
My dog's in the background rolling on the ground.
I thought there was a dog.
He likes to be in here with me now when I sit on the floor behind
That's
me.
where you think that Roe would do stuff and say, you know what? Teching fuel tanks is a friggin' nightmare. What if we just write the rule so that you can have a big enough tank that you can run as long as you need to, and now we don't have to worry about the fuel capacity anymore? Like, wouldn't that be easier?
It seems like it's an unnecessary rule. Like there's all these other things that aren't rules. So just like give them a huge tank, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, well, I mean, the argument of less rules is easier is 100% true, and that's why, in general, and Jeff will argue this if he ever comes back to life.
To an extent,
modified is the better class because you don't have to worry about shit. It's run whatever you want, and it's open. That's what it used to be. Open class to run whatever you want. The fuel tank thing, I don't know. I mean, Formula One did away with pit stops. I don't think you're running a big enough tank in that thing to run an hour and have any advantage, because then the pressure issue would be you have a giant pressure tank that towards the end is either going to lean out or rich out. It doesn't work like that. You can't just run a giant tank because the pressure change is too big for our old school 2-needle system. So, I mean, yeah, I would say that at this point, the fuel tank capacity just doesn't matter.
I look at it kind of like what happened with lipo and brushless, that if you take runtime out of the equation, you start to focus on other aspects of the hobby and get better at other things. I mean, that's,
Sure.
it can be good and bad at the same time. Like sometimes some folks would say that lipos and brushless ruined many aspects for a lot of racers because of for
motor companies.
Tuning that motor companies.
Yeah, they're the ones complaining. No one else is.
There was guys at the track that lost their advantage because they were the local tuner guy that knew how to use a lathe and tune. That there was that guy that was the hero that got lots of local help because he cut comms and stuff like that. That all went away. So, but.
Guys, I think I've just been contacted by the biggest super fan of this show based on the precision with which he has calculated how much we talk about racing.
99.6785 of the time. That's a lot.
I assume that's not hyperbolic. I assume there's a spreadsheet, and this person has done the math to calculate this and might have a point. Maybe we should talk more about some of this other stuff. And this is Kevin Himansky, by the way.
Yeah.
Go check him out at Himansky Hobbies. Enjoy.
I was about to say, doesn't Kevin have a sweet ass hobby shop that we should all be checking out?
He doesn't sell any race stuff there either.
Race stuff doesn't sell unless you have a track for people to destroy themselves on in the very near vicinity.
I'm going to disagree with that 100% because when I didn't race, I still had a race car and I used the shit out of it.
You're different, though. You're not a normal RC enthusiast.
I think those days are over. I don't think anyone is playing around with an RC10, B7.
There are dudes with backyard tracks that race, and they all have similar cars that race. I know lots of them in my area.
That's still racing on a track. I mean, back in the day, you might have a tricked out RC10 that you just played with. But to do bash round play with, no one I think is running a race car anymore, unless they got it out of the used case and it was a great deal, that kind of thing, or they inherited it.
Yeah.
No one's like, I want the ultimate RC car, so I'm gonna get a race car, even though I don't race. No, they're going to get the latest, super fast, Arma car or a Traxxas, VXL model, that kind of stuff. That's the ultimate RC car now, not a race car.
Even in the backyard tracks, a lot of them, they're dudes that race their RTRs against each other. They don't have race cars, so to speak. So
yeah.
I'm going to do an article now. Is a race car the best basher? I'm going to bash my B6.
But to me, I think that shows a problem with racing. Racing is so unlike playing with an RC car that no one would even think about buying a race car to play with. There's no advantage to it. There's a race car does nothing better for play than a play car does. In fact, it's like worse in almost every way.
It's lighter. It's harder to drive. There's more things to confuse yourself.
I'm going to disagree. I'm always here to disagree. That's my role. But I'll disagree with that 100% because I think an A-scale race car is more durable, is just as fast, and is actually better as a basher because of that.
I would agree with
Is it better than an X-Max, though? Is it better than an X-Max?
X-Max will fuck up. Well, it depends what you're doing. If it's a backflip contest, I bet you I could do more backflips with a Truggy than I could with my X-Max without breaking something. Because I have.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a race car is an A scale. It's not a 10 scale 4-wheel drive that break. You try not to break in 5 minutes, whatever they run.
They have to be similar.
An A scale electric or and nitro, if somebody still knows what that means, will be just as fast. Or not faster than a basher if you put the right stuff in it, and will be way more durable because it's made to survive an hour of full racing. Just, you know what I mean? Like it still is the ultimate basher. Now there are
a very specific category there.
What's that?
Your buddy says, "Hey, the space next to my house is all dug up because I'm doing some building there. Be great for some RC fun. Come on over. Would you rather bring a Stampede 4x4 or the latest 4-wheel drive racing 10 scale buggy?"
Well, I excluded 10 scale 4-wheel drive because they are not the most durable. I'm going specifically for A scale of if you had to bash one thing, that the A scale car will last longer than an X-Max.
I would pick an A scale race car over an A scale RTR all day long for those two exact same purposes. I would pick an A scale Truggy or an A scale race car or race scale Truggy, if you will, over a lot of the monster trucks that are basher rigs as well, because the suspension's kind of better, the high speed stuff that you can do, and so I'm starting to agree with Eric.
Where do you get this 8 scale Truggy to bash with?
Well, that's a different discussion. So the ease of getting a RTR basher is 100%, 100 times easier. But if you were going to say you're into the hobby and say, hey, I want the ultimate basher, I would say that if you built an A scale car, you're going to spend less money and have a better quality product.
Dude goes down to the hobby shop and says, I have an unlimited budget. I want the most bang for the buck, or not even the most bang for the buck. I just want the most ultimate rig. You're going to set him up with either an electric or a nitro Truggy, I think, if you had your wits about you, and full race kit.
And I will say X-Max is one of my favorite things that ever came out, obviously. But
for ease of operation and getting into a dangerous, fun RC car, X-Max wins hands down. It's like turnkey. So there's a lot to be said.
I would love to read that shootout. You know, we put together an electric 8 scale race Truggy for bashing, and whatever that dollar amount was, that was our budget to buy a ready to run. And
no, but so you can't put a budget. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's your budget to buy the ready to run.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, and maybe you buy a ready to run that's half as much, and you get 10 batteries. You know,
can we do that? I'll get Hobbywing to cover the upgraded electronics for the budget.
Mm-hmm. So Alex wants to know, how did Tekno kill Truggy? Because they were the first one to come out with this ugly ass body that everybody had to copy. It was a cheater. It's a better handling thing because there is less wind underneath it, and you don't have to be a rocket science to figure out why that body makes more sense.
Damn them and using the physics to their advantage.
Yeah. It's like putting like a Ferrari into the SUV class for handling. A Ferrari handles better. A Ferrari car handles better than a truck on a track. No shit.
So does that mean that Ty Tessman was twice as fast as he really was because he ran an actual Truggy body on his Truggy?
He probably was at a disadvantage. I mean, why didn't he run the other one?
Because he's a real man. Maybe his body sponsor doesn't make a cheater body yet. Who knows?
Who was his body sponsor? Isn't it Proline?
I can't keep track of any of these things. No, it's definitely not Proline. He runs hot race tires, so maybe he has to run the body of the vehicle itself. I don't know.
Couldn't buy a body.
I'm sure he could have.
That's why I love sponsor drivers. They couldn't even, they'll cheat and run other people's tires and everything. But hey, I ain't playing for that magic body.
Because he was disproving that it was an advantage for so many people. I'm beating you with the slow body. I mean, it's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
swinging his big
I'm
old
sure
Canadian
somebody did the
around.
test how much faster per lap it was. If it's 2/10 or 5/10, that's a big ass. It's a big ass advantage over an hour.
There you go. You couldn't buy the cheater bodies, says Mr. Olson.
And he has no pull to have one given to him. I mean, I'm sure one of the people that made those bodies would have preferred their body if he had a chance to win.
I don't think that they're the type of folks that would even. I mean, have you had a conversation with Gord about racing? It is a very serious world for the Tessmans.
Well, yeah, if you could have won by changing the body, I should have been super serious, like a fucking heart attack. You know what I mean? That's why you're there. If the body was the advantage, which I mean, let's be real, clearly was if everybody. How many in the top 10 had the buggy body?
If you get second place with the truck body, that's saying a lot for how good you guys are as a red team.
You got a trophy with a 2 on it and probably no money.
He's already won enough nationals. So he's just fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was friends enough with Proline, unless I can't imagine him blowing the bridge up at Proline and Jason to get a.
Dude, someone should interview them and ask them why they didn't run a buggy body on their Truggy and then find out. So that needs to be a question that needs to be answered. Now I'm interested. I might have to message Gordon.
Oh, Jose said he was DQ'd for running 2 spits more fuel.
Half a spit, dude. I heard it was the thing that I read on the internet was it was a half a cc, but I can't believe that that's accurate because it was on the internet, so I don't believe it.
Well, half a cc in the terms of depending on what temperature you measure at is probably within tolerance of whatever you're measuring with.
Maybe that's the only
fuel expands
that's precise. That has it says with the wording makes it have to be this much, so there's no tolerance.
Well, there isn't. They've discussed this before. There is if it's over, it's a fail. That's the pass fail line, which is fine. But there has to be a temperature constant. Otherwise, the fuel will be different in warm temperature and cold temperature. And I'll use the example of ice and water. If you can't understand the difference of volume, when you freeze water, it gets higher volume.
I mean, it was more than that. They have designated cool down times and all these other things.
Jason Ashton won the nationals and had a fight to keep it because of that.
Like physically fight?
Yeah, I think he suplexed somebody and did a DDT.
How long can these guys run on a tank? What's a good run time for a race car?
8 to 10 minutes, I think.
Okay.
I think it's at least 10. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What if they said we're going to have mandatory 8 fuel stops in the 1 hour main? You must pit. And if the car's going to bunch up, it's going to be like torque racing. Like,
I'm so in on that. It's like a competition caution.
Yeah, you know who used to do that?
What do you think they did that? Like, okay, forget it. We're not going to chase CCs. Everyone's going to make run time. No one's going to win because they have more fuel capacity or efficiency. Would you guys like, that's not racing. Racing should be you might run out of gas. You're like, yeah, sounds great. What would you think of that rule?
I like it. I'm a big fan of equalizing a lot of these silly variable things so that the competition aspect, the drivers and all that, can be really honed in on this formula of the race, if you will, versus. Yeah, well, sure. It takes away some of the purism of them racing. I'm not going to lie, but in the end,
pit stop is a giant thing in racing. It always has been.
But in full scale and everything. Racing, try running the race 3 times to make sure that the truly best guy wins. That's the dumbest thing in the world to me. We're going to have 3 mains. Dumb, and it blows my mind when someone's like, "No, you can't have this rule that takes away my advantage. It makes it more fair for everybody." But I also want to race 3 times to make sure that the winner is the one who can win. 3 times or 2 out of 3. That's just dumb. I want you to lose because you hit a rock. That's racing to me, much more so than I ran out of gas.
Especially if there was a rock in there. But yeah. You know what class? I forget what it was called. It was a Japanese touring car circuit that was alive for a while. I went to California Speedway, and they had a mandatory time in the pits. So their pit stop was you had a pit for 3 minutes.
I was about to say
this way. It doesn't matter how fast your guys can fill it. There was less chance for someone getting run over.
It was a safety thing.
Yes, it was a hey, you're going to come into the pits. You can fill your car with gas. You got to change the tires, but you ain't leaving for like 3 minutes.
It was cost too because they needed less people in the pits, less staff, all that. The Formula E, they have the pit stops for the driver swap because they don't change the batteries. So the dude gets out of his one car that's dead and he gets into another one that's fully charged to make sure they have enough time to change the belts and take off the tire warmers. It's a fixed amount of time. That's like a solid 30 seconds over what they really need to get the job done. And they all come in, change cars for that amount of time. Dude.
Someone gave me a rock comment. That's awesome. Somebody threw a rock on the track and you lost.
I was announcing that race when that happened, and he's combing down the track, and all of a sudden the car flies off. I'm like, what? I looked at the scoring screen, looked back, and his car was, I'm like, what the hell just happened? Somebody comes over to the thing like, that little kid at the end of the straightaway just threw a rock at the leader's car. So I had to like shame the kid and his parents And
I think that's awesome that you have that accuracy to peg a car and get it to fly off the track.
he was like,
and that should be a part of racing now if you want more crowd participation.
He was mid to end straightaway pinned, so the car was moving at a high rate of speed, so it was pretty good.
I would have said, kid, we got to keep things fair. You need to try and ding every car on the track with a rock for the rest of the race.
I like the way you guys think, but I don't think modern RC racers can handle that amount.
Real quick aside, you mentioned Formula E.
And wait, they really changed the car? That's I've never watched the Formula E. It has nothing to so they just swap out like a tearaway.
They pull into the pits. The car's pointed this way. There's another one parked like this. They jump out, get in, and pull out in the other one. It's stupid.
But anyway, Formula E, when you think of cars driven by AI, and I don't know about you guys, but if you said we've got 20 of these insane electric hypercars going down the track at the same time, racing head to head, no driver in there, that would not change it for me one bit. I would not be like, oh, if no one's going to die and there's no excitement, I would still be thrilled to watch this race and see who programmed their car the best. When there's a horrific crash, I feel better that there's no one in there. I would have no problem with no drivers being in the cars or drivers driving remotely. That would still be racing to me.
Yeah.
There's a thing where they do that through the desert. They make those off-road ADV rigs that drive a couple hundred.
DARPA used to do that to try to.
I think it's still a thing.
Yeah, because we want to make a weapon later, like in Terminator. But for now, it's a fun race.
Yay, college kids.
Yeah, I like the human aspect of things. I mean,
I'm not saying I don't like it, but there are people like I remember once they were interviewing Tony Stewart, and someone's like, "Well, don't you think it takes away some of the fun or the excitement of racing if the cars are more safe?" And he's like, "Would this press conference be more exciting if one of these chairs was about to fall over because it had a weak leg? That'd be more fun for me. But like, why should our safety be compromised for your entertainment? Like, how does that make it better rate?" And I think he's right. I mean, I don't.
People love crashes.
Yeah, people love crashing, and it was death defying. It was these people are risking. Look how crazy they are. I mean, that is part of the appeal. Let's be real.
Right. If I said when you watch MythBusters and they're gonna smash two cars together, you're not like, I don't care. No one's inside the car. You want to see two cars get wrecked. When you're a kid playing with SSPs, the ones that explode when they smash into each other. I'm referencing a toy from 1973. But you're not like, it's a toy and there's no one inside. No, it's still fun.
I used to know my army men.
2 hours of Evel Knievel toys jumping over stuff in a driveway. I mean, crashing is crashing. And same thing with RC cars. I'll eat up a slow motion RC car crash video like nobody's business.
I think I can't agree with Pete more. That's the biggest.
Well, I'm going to tell you why you agree with him, because you're a drone racer, you weirdo, and you sit there with a phone strapped to your face and sit in the field like a zombie. That's why you're okay with it.
There are so many aspects of RC that are appealing for a number of reasons, and a big part of that is the thrill and the safety. You get all of the awesomeness, and you get to take it in. You get to destroy all this stuff. You get to have this spectacular moment, and then you get to do it all again because you're not dead. And it's still pretty awesome, and you still get all this competition, and you still get to put these moves on your buddy, no risk of life or limb. You can be handicapped, whatever. You can't get in a car. You can't go do all these sports that people do, and RC brings that kind of back to reality. So, it's been a very uncoordinated person my whole life, and I kick people's ass at RC, so it makes me feel good about that. So I'm
not knocking our sport, but when you're like, I don't care about drivers in it, but that's why drone racing to me is. It's super nerd, and I'm saying this in a nice way, is that when you watch people do it, it's literally watching someone sit in a fucking chair. And there's really, at least when you're driving, you're making a face and you can see people next to each other. Otherwise, this is drone racing to me.
Well, you're not supposed to watch the person. You're supposed to be riding along with them, viewing what they view. That's what makes it cool. Onboard camera in NASCAR or onboard camera in anything. That you're supposed to be riding along with them, not watching them sit there and be a weirdo. I agree with you on that one.
Charlie, I just wish you hadn't answered Derek so quickly because I want to see how far he would go with the insults. He was just like this. Because you're a weirdo who races drones with a phone strapped to your face, and you're ugly and you smell, and you still owe me $10. And on top of that, I heard your mom. It just would go on until you finally interrupted.
There's a lot of RC guys that were drone haters out there because drones got way more public exception and whatever
They had
media
10 minutes of
coverage than
fame.
RC cars could ever dream of. Like, dudes are racing drones on TV for hundreds of thousands of dollars when we've been racing RC cars for dozens of dollars when nobody knows.
Yeah, some idiot did a TV show and that thing ain't on anymore. So obviously it wasn't lucrative.
They were on TV playing video games instead of doing real life racing. So whatever they did, their contract was good.
I think TV is so weird because it doesn't matter anymore. Like, I mean, people spend countless hours on Twitch watching people play Fortnite and everything else. There's never going to be a TV show on people playing Fortnite. It just doesn't grok anymore. Like online is more important than TV. You know,
the only people that appreciate video games are people who play video games because they appreciate the time and dedication that the people put in to get this good. When we went to a sports bar and watched drone racing on TV when it was happening in real life, not the simulator stuff. And the people in the bar were into it because of the crash, even though nobody got hurt. They loved to watch.
Yeah, because of the crash, and they were drinking.
There was that. And since they were because they knew we had drone shirts on and we were being nerds watching it and cheering and all this stuff. So they started asking us questions and talking about it. Like, it was. You were out in public in a bar with normal people talking about RC, and they were interested in it, not laughing at you about it. It was a very different experience for me. So, you go to the local eatery after the night at the racetrack, and you bump in all the like, "Hey, how comes you guys are here with your matching shirts on?" "Oh, we race RC cars." "You race RC cars? They race those things, and then what do you win?" "Nothing." "Oh, that's cool. So how much do they cost? How fast do they go?" And all this nonsense happens. It's a totally different experience when you talk to people about drones.
You need a better pitch. When someone talked to me about RC car stuff, the first thing I said was, yeah, there's people that are paid professionally and make like $200,000 a year to travel around and play with these things. They're like,
Sure, I use that, but most people don't use that pitch if they get asked about drones.
Pitch.
I'm on your side. I use that pitch. I say, yeah, this all happens, but there's dudes that make their living as professional toy car racers, and they're home months out of the year because they're on the road traveling, getting their paid, all that stuff. Same thing
everywhere. It's like celebrities,
exotic locations, hot girls, fancy cars, limos, and buses,
and boats and hoes everywhere. Yeah. Especially when you show up with your drone.
4 out of 5 of those things.
4 out of 5. Which one do we get? The girls? And we don't get the girls.
The IFMAR Worlds is every 2 years. What if IFMAR said, you got 2 years to get ready? The starting grid order will be determined by how quickly you can run a mile.
Everyone quit RC.
No, right now there's RC's changed a little bit. They're not all fatties anymore. The younger generation was pretty.
I know there's a really tight knit group of mountain biking RC racers who are.
No. There's a tight knit group of road bike mountain or RC racers. They're not mountain bike racers. Don't get confused at all. They hate each other. The mountain bike guys, they don't. They just go ride. They're not roadies. Sorry, Pete.
I don't know which side you're on, the mountain bikes or the road?
The mountain bikes. Roadies are weirdos. They ride on the street trying to get run over all the time in their tight pants.
Yeah. On the way home from Walmart to make the show in time, there were 2 guys riding road bikes. I used to ride road bikes back when they were chromoly unplugged. I was a roadie, but before there was even the term roadie. I guess I used to race mountain bikes. That's a different story. In like the mid 80s, no suspension. Anyways, and these dudes, they're riding $10,000 bikes. They're riding side by side, taking up the entire lane. Now, believe me, I understand the rules of the road and that bicyclists are allowed the same amount of road as a car, etc.
Despite there no road taxes and/or registration.
You got 20 guys doing a pace line and they're holding 25 miles an hour. That's different. You deserve the road. When it's these 2 schmuck dentists on $10,000 bikes going 8 miles an hour, gabbing away about whether Cervelo is better than the latest Cannondale. Get off the friggin' road. You belong on the sidewalk. I've passed guys in full race kit. They're on the road in their $10,000 bike. I'm on the sidewalk on my 84 Schwinn High Sierra, motoring past them with a rack on the back. And I'm like, you guys are a-holes. Like, come on. I'm not a big fan of most roadies. I mean, of course, there are some cool guys too. But, mountain bike guys tend to be way more laid back. And now we're completely out of the RC realm, so we should probably get back to talking RC stuff.
There are lots of mountain bike people that are into RC cars. There are not a lot of road bike guys that are into RC cars. So +1 mountain bike people. I have tons of mountain bike friends because of my mountain bike friend who was into RC cars, and I got introduced to this whole world of radness because of this dude's love for RC cars and his mountain bike nerdiness. So,
there's a high probability that anybody that's into some stupid thing like a bike or whatever we call our hobby will be interested in RC cars if they're that dedicated, I think. Because there's a lot of similarities in all hobbies of
tinkering.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, quick hobby rundown. Let's see if there's any, intersecting paths here. My hobbies were and or have been model rockets, RC cars, BMX racing, mountain bike racing, riding road bikes too slowly to race, building bicycles. I like some Lego. I collect toys, and I collect digital watches.
I do Lego a little bit. I still try to collect Volkswagen Hot Wheels because I think it's awesome. And then we got into mountain bikes late in life. My wife told me I was getting fat. My ex actually now told me that I was getting fat, so we started riding bikes. So I got into road bikes for a little while, and then got into mountain bikes because mountain bikes was safer than road bikes because you could go away.
People on road bikes are nuts because some of them are going around here, especially with hills, going like 40 down a hill with a tire that's this thin with a thin sheet of spandex on and a helmet that's made for like lawn darts.
We did a session like that. We have a lot of hills where I live, so you ride up to the top and then you rip down. It is quite the rush, I will say, to like roll up on cars going down the hill and like, what's up, dude? You're in our way. So
we're really getting out of our scene now, but Stretch here says y'all need to try electric bikes. Electric bikes are scary because now you've got it depends on the electric bike, but there are electric bikes that can go way too fast for the amount of brake they've got and the amount of skill for the person behind the wheel. Because when you crash, to your point, Derek, at 40, there's no like, oh, I crashed at bicycle 40 miles an hour, not motorcycle 40 miles an hour.
Right.
40 is 40. And you got one
I know more people that died from bikes.
You got Derek wearing a Snell-rated, hard shell motorcycle helmet and gear. Another guy going 40. He's wearing, shorts and a tank top and a beer cooler. And there's no training. Like these guys don't know how to handle a bicycle at 40 miles an hour. They're not going to counter steer to get the thing to lean over harder to make a turn. They're just going to drift into the guardrail. Scary. Electric bikes are scary.
If you want to see a wonderful example of how awesome e-bikes are, you go on the YouTube, punch in the Charlie Show, and put in e-bike adventure. I think Charlie Show e-bike adventure. My buddy has a demo fleet for Bosch, so he lets us ride the e-bikes every once in a while. And you go do a couple thousand feet of climbing, party at the top of the mountain, and you think that you're a superhero because you rode up to the top of the mountain. Now you got to go ride back down the mountain. It's quite the adventure. You can get yourself way farther than you should probably be getting yourself up the trail. And now you got to either go back the way that you came or go. Usually the way up is easy. The way down is hard from my experience, riding mountain bikes in Northern California. So we had a super fun adventure on the way down the hill. Yeah. I was all by myself wallowing.
Electric bikes are wear like mopeds because you go to any like tourist town, or this used to be the case anyways, back like in the 70s and 80s, where you go rent a moped, and people think like, oh yeah, you just rent a moped and you ride it.
It's fine.
People would just wreck themselves because they'll still go 25 or 30, and they're not used to that. And people would just really hurt themselves because they just weren't prepared for those kind of speeds, and
you
like they just grab the front brake and all that stuff,
You lean in, right? And you think you're supposed to lean in because it's a motorcycle, but you weigh almost as much as the vehicle you're on top of. So it all washes out. So there's like mountain bike riding style, dirt bike riding style. We haven't talked about RC in a solid 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave it this with the bikes. If you're buying a $10,000 bike, get a motorcycle. Be happier.
I don't know. E-bike is still fitness. You still got to do work. Like you still got to get out there, and it's better than not riding a bicycle. I'll say that. I'm a little biased. I had a really good time on the e-bike every time. So,
Simon Cowell. Anyway, the whole point of the show was thank you, Techno, for breaking a class that was really dead. So the funny thing to me was nobody gives a flying shit about Truggy, and that was all everybody talked about. So maybe it was good that people acknowledged that the class existed, because I had to look up who won buggy because of all the stuff on my feed that was basically posted around the stupid new bodies, which I am not for. I'm against them. So change buggy class.
Here's a quick conversation, or maybe we could do this next show, but like, what kind of RC racing should exist? I think there should be 100-mile-an-hour oval racing with the Traxxas X01 and the Arma super speed cars, and whoever else wants to make something like that. I'd like to see that. 8S cars trucking at full speed. That'd be wild.
Dude, I think
Velodrome still exists. They just had a race. I thought it was recently.
Well, it wasn't Velodrome. It was a big an airport parking lot, but they're doing 100+ on the straights.
I saw YouTube the other day of a group of dudes that got together with all of their speed run rigs at an airport in the United Kingdom, and they did speed runs all day long and destroyed rigs all day. So I think that you're onto something, because if there's destruction involved, I think people are in.
None of the cars that go 100 miles an hour are going to last 4 minutes or
you don't have
melt down and catch on fire. So you might as well just burn them to start.
That's part of the fun. Maybe it's a 2-minute race to get started, and then the technology improves, and that's what racing should be doing.
It is more fun to catch something on fire than it is to set something on fire.
And it's already a thing, but it should be a much bigger thing. The whole U4RC scene should be really huge as a way for people to compete. I wish that.
Well, I agree with that 100%, but for whatever reason, that never has taken off. Really, I mean, there's a track by me that still races, but it's not in anybody's face, which is probably why it's somewhat popular.
Yeah,
U4 is a lot like motocross or trials. There's too much talent in the driver involved to have a really good time with that. And then if somebody gets really good at it, they'll smoke everybody super fast.
Yeah. I remember when Scott Hughes, it was the Viterra, and he went to the local track, and it was well, again, pros ruin everything. So as soon as you have pros involved, the class is
not even pros, just someone who nerds harder than everyone else.
Nah, Scott Hughes is a different level of driver from someone that learns how to drive it. He showed up to the thing and knew how to drive a car 10 times better than everybody. And it was and he's like, oh, I'm really good at it. No shit. You almost won the world, dummy. Hope you're good at it. But that hasn't been invaded by real, and I'll say this because I don't think there's any real pro drivers in U4, but it hasn't been invaded by really raped by the industry yet.
The industry, when they go in to rape any given niche segment, they need to help them get better at the hobby and expose them to more things that make them better drivers and be able to understand how to operate these expensive toys to their max, if you will. Pro drivers need to teach these dudes more than just go out kick. But it's hard. I mean, I get it. You go talk to some of these guys, and learning how to communicate about driving RC cars is much like motorcycle riding. So I feel the pain there.
Yeah.
And Carl, fifth scale is cool, but it will never rise up. One, they're too big for most people. Two, they sound terrible. No matter what you say, it's a terrible sound. They
do sound like cows.
And if you ever watch an A-scale nitro car versus fifth scale, you'll understand why it's more exciting to watch the A-scale nitro car, because that thing is like a slot car and is insane. And a fifth scale car is like,
electric fifth scale vehicles move out, but to your point, expensive, huge. Those are always going to be massive limiting factors to how many can get out there and be enjoyed by people.
They look great, but the track wow factor is half of an A-scale nitro car to me.
I'm a little bit biased because I got to announce a couple fifth scale races, and Carl is one of the racers in the mod series too. So it can be super fun, but these guys are some ultra dedicated, diehard fifth scale racers, and they make it a lot of fun. It's very difficult for a group of folks that are learning RC cars to get to that level at the same speed. They'll get there at different speeds, but it takes some time. So I think that fifth scale needs a lot of spec classes so that folks can kind of do a little bit more.
I think the spec class that they tried starting around here has already died.
Well, fifth scale is very expensive. You could get into go-kart racing for about the price.
Well, no, what's the spec when they FG or whatever? They made an affordable. I think it was like $1,200 or $1,300.
That's fifth scale on road. That doesn't count.
Yes, it does. Off-road. I mean, off-road
jumps
is less annoying than on-road to me, but it's still. If you watch an A-scale, it's more physics defying than a fifth scale car.
I thought we were talking about off-road the whole time. That's all I think about. I
forgot about off-road fifth scale for a second.
There's one place in all of the United States that raced fifth scale on-road, isn't there? That's it.
Right by me, California Speedway.
Right.
What are you talking about? There's more. There's got to be more than one.
No, look it up. There's 2 in Europe, and that's it.
That's Craig Kaplan. I'm sure he knows.
Well, he's at Steel City, yeah, of course. But you know, fifth scale. No, the off-road ones look less fun, to be honest with you, than the on-road. The on-road ones look like real cars. That's the appeal of it. The off-road ones,
it's very scale. The
sort of look like goofy buggies.
Well, if I was going to make them available to you, like I'm just going to buy it for you. Let me know what you want. Would you rather have an FG F1 car, or would you rather have like a Baja 5T?
Baja 5T all day.
See, I'd take that big FG F1 car because I would hang on the wall.
Oh well, I don't want to play with it.
I like to look at the I look to look at the F1, but that's a tough one. That's a good question.
The FG has front disc brakes. It's so trick. Like that's hanging on the wall. It'd be so rad.
2-wheel drive though. It's stupid.
They have a 4-wheel drive one.
If you gave me a fifth scale nitro, a fifth scale gas car, any type, I would probably drive it so infrequently because the time I have to spend to prepare to run and to go take it and run it, and the hassles of doing that,
and clean it.
I would just I'd run it like 3 times a year tops.
If you had the truck to take it somewhere, I think it's less of a hassle. It's more of a commitment that you have to have something to move it.
I thought the same thing about my X-Max, but it became my favorite rig, and I took it everywhere all of the time and beat the hell out of it constantly. I feel like a fifth scale would be the same, provided there was no noise problems. But with all the noise of a fifth scale, I think you're out right away. Like we ride our dirt bikes in the street, and the neighbor comes out and complains. Fifth scale, they're going to complain too.
Yeah, well, any hobby you'll find, I think you can take to an extreme where you bring it to the lifestyle level. You know, toy collecting, you have guys who have a toy room that is wall-to-wall toys, and when they buy a new house, that's a factor. There needs to be a space for the toy room. You've got guys who fly model airplanes. They buy a van to carry model airplanes. They buy a house that has a big enough basement to build it's model airplanes wall-to-wall. Like every hobby, I think, is like that. And no matter how small it might seem to be, collecting stamps, I guarantee you there's a guy who has a stamp collecting basement that is from the whole length of the house that's all devoted to stamps, because you can take any hobby to that extreme.
If you're serious about your hobbies, you have them on display as part of your life, like in your house somewhere, I think. Like whether it's a shelf or a room or whatever.
Can I address this comment down here?
I'm in my hobby room right now.
Carl, I want to believe you, but no, sorry.
It depends on the track, and it depends on the A scale. Some tracks of fifth scale could keep up with a crappy A scale, or someone
again. Yeah,
some of the dudes who race A scale at these fifth scale races. I'm not trying to talk trash A scale guys that race at the fifth scale races, but they're not like
you're garbage, but it's okay that you're having fun. That's
I think you need to have a blown out section where the fifth scale can just blow through it, and the eighth scale just gets bounced.
I don't even see that one happening, to be honest with you. We could do this as a challenge, because on an A scale track, a fifth scale can't even get around, and on an A scale track on a fifth scale track, the A scale is faster and can change direction faster. It's not a contest, to be honest with you.
Carl or somebody there has a phone; they can video it for us.
I could say the WNBA player can beat an NBA player
at checkers. Yeah,
something. It ain't a race.
I mean, I raced my 50 against a bunch of RC cars on a 10 scale RC track, and I beat a couple of them, but not all of them. So does that count? Not really.
No, they must be garbage too. But it's okay. You can be garbage and have fun. We've discussed Tekno and their tugboat, how it ruined Truggy, or how Truggy ruined itself, and Tekno saved it, which could be the flip side of what just happened. But
in the end, Tekno did the least ruining, because theirs still kind of looks like a truck.
Like I said, in hindsight, they probably saved it because so many people talked about this class that I feel like just 2 weeks ago we were saying nobody races Truggy, it's a waste of time and money. And here we are talking about the stupid thing. So I don't look, Truggy's for old people that are slower reflexes and can't handle it. I'm in the boat too. I'm not making fun of anybody, but that shouldn't have been at the national level that this class popped out of the woodwork. I'm sorry. And Roar, your fucking rule book is 9,000 years old. Get rid of 10 scale nitro off-road. What the hell? Oh God. Man, Roar used to hate me so much, and we helped them so much, but they
I wonder why.
Well, I wonder why too. But
no one likes to be called on their crap, dude.
Yeah, I know. Hey, don't worry, I'm here. forgot to mention, 2 people bought a hat last week off the show. Thank you. I sent them out. And hopefully they have them already. I don't have the link. You got to find it. I put it in the last show. Maybe I'll put it on a.
You should put it on the YouTube comments.
I only have like 15 hats left, so I don't really care if they sell out or not. They're kind of.
I'm gonna order another one.
Yeah. So I may put it in the link, but I probably won't. So if you look on our Payload store, it's actually on there, but you can find it somewhere. I promise you, it's on our website. I did post something on our website once or Facebook.
Loads.
One of those two. Then I complain like I'm like J Concepts. I put on Facebook, but you can't find it on my stupid website. Hey. That's why I complain. I'm out.